Okay, in this episode, we're just going to look at a few basic things of how to set up Reason to run on your system. I'm going to go over here to the Preferences menu, and in this window right here, you'll see a couple things that you'll want to pay attention to. Under the General tab, I usually don't change anything in here unless I absolutely need to, and most users won't really need to change much in this particular page. Right up here in the top, though, is a drop-down menu. On audio, you may need to tell your system which audio card to play audio out of. So if you're playing a Reason session and you don't hear anything, you may need to go to this audio tab and make sure that your audio device is actually active on your system. In this case, I'm using a Mode 2 Traveler audio interface, so it's obviously assigned to the Traveler so that I can hear the sound. Again, you may not need to change any of these other sounds like the buffer size and some of the latency issues. Most of the time I just leave this alone. On keyboards and control surfaces, if you plan to play MIDI notes into Reason, you may need to set up a keyboard to actually work with the software. The way to do that is to click Add, and depending on your manufacturer, if you see your keyboard manufacturer listed here, then go ahead and set that up. I won't walk through all that, but some cases you may just have to say Other, and then you may have to tell it to find the keyboard input if you don't necessarily know what that is. If you know where it is, in this case I'm using a MIDI timepiece for all of my MIDI input. I know where it's at, but you can also let Reason find it by clicking Find. And now I'm going to tap a key on my keyboard, and it automatically sees that it's coming into port 3 on my MIDI timepiece. Now, if this was the first time I'm setting up this keyboard, I would say choose, but since it's already set up, I'm going to say cancel. So I'll cancel back out of this. You can see my keyboard is already set up here. There's a green check mark saying that it is active and Reason does see the keyboard through MIDI. I also use another control surface. This time it's not actually active, but you can use any other MIDI controller or MIDI interface to control Reason or to play notes or to do any MIDI programming. And you can add all of those devices in this list. Back up here on the top of the list under Advanced, you'll probably want to keep this bus A set to the same input as your MIDI keyboard coming in. Most of the time you don't even need to mess with this. The computer keyboard, you can set this up to customize if you want to play music notes in that mimic an actual piano keyboard. You can set it up on your computer keyboard. So let's go ahead and get out of the preferences, and that's pretty much how you set up Reason so that it's ready to play. And just to make sure that we have the settings the way they should be, if I go up here to the very top, you can see that my audio card says Mode 2 Traveler, so that's what my audio is playing through. If I click Advanced MIDI, these are all 16 input channels for MIDI. Any MIDI device can run on 16 different channels. In this case, my keyboard is playing out on MIDI channel 1, which you can see that lights up over here. And it also says MIDI timepiece port 3. So that's the basic way to get MIDI and audio set up in order to run Reason.